If you want to buy a home, financing is kind of important. So if you are looking at getting a loan on a property, a mortgage, we are going to share with you 13 steps of getting a mortgage on a house, right? So I'm Dana Pollard. I'm a real estate agent in Texas, and this is Jeff Dynick with Family Tree Mortgage. And we're so excited because we have partnered with Family Tree Mortgage to help you get a home when moving to Texas, because as you know, moving to Texas is kind of a big deal, and we want to help you in that regard. So I'm super excited to help you guys more on that end with Jeff. So Jeff has more than 30 years mortgage experience, but let's get into the content.
That's right.
All right, so the first step that you're going to want to take when getting a mortgage on a home is you want to have a consultation. So what does this consultation look like?
The initial consultation is just that. It's just a conversation. We're just going to talk about, what your needs are, where you are financially, what your goals are. What do you want your payment to look like? What area are you looking in? I've lived here for about 50 years, and so I'm pretty well versed in the area. Just things like that. What products and programs are going to meet your financial needs for your family? Because ultimately that's what you're looking to do. Put that home into a budget that you can afford.
Yeah, this is why, I don't like working with newbie lenders. Because not every loan is equal for multiple reasons. So it's not just about interest rate. It's not even just about terms. There's so much that goes into it. And I love what you said, Jeff. You said based on your goals. So sometimes maybe your goals are to have a lower payment, but you don't mind bringing more money to closing. Maybe you want to come to closing with as little money as possible, but you don't know, you know that your payment's going to be a little higher.
Right.
Maybe there's different loan programs. Maybe you're a first-time home buyer. Maybe you need assistance with that. There's so many different goals and needs. This is why it's so important to work with someone of 30 years experience.
Yeah.
And so those are just some of the things. So the consultation is free for you, and you can share your whole situation, whether
right.
you're thinking about getting another job in another industry, which we don't recommend, whether maybe you have to sell your home and then you have to buy a home, maybe you're looking for a jumbo loan. There's so many different things. I'm just going on and on. I'm sorry.
No, there's so many. That's why it's important just to have that initial conversation. Everybody's different. Everybody's situation's different. And there are a lot of loan products and programs out there to meet your needs. So we just need to know what your needs are.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't realize they can qualify for a home when they can.
Right.
And then sometimes people think they can qualify, but they didn't know something popped up on their credit a year ago.
Yeah.
That they may or may not even be responsible for. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next step.
Okay, step two would be to go ahead and fill out a complete loan application. And it's important to do that because that, at that point, authorizes me to pull your credit so we can actually take a look at where your credit is at that point. And a lot of people don't realize that with all the fraud and things going on in the world, when I pull their credit and we start going through the accounts, they're like, that's not my account, that's not my account. So this is a good time if you don't utilize the government's free credit report once a year. This is your free credit report.
Yeah.
We're not going to charge you unless the loan actually closes. Then you'll get a minimal charge for the credit report. But we go through, review the credit, and at that point, if everything looks good, I can go ahead and start requesting documents by setting you up in our lender portal. It is a secured portal, and it's important, again, with all the fraud and identity theft in the world going on, that you use that portal. That way I know that everything's encrypted and it's coming over and it's coming from you. So that would take us pretty much through the loan application and submitting the required documents that I need in order to put it into an automated underwriting system.
Okay, so this is important for an agent on my side.
Yes.
So once you fill out the loan application, my next question is, have you uploaded your documents? And the reason is because when we start shopping for a home, and you find one, like if you find one really quick, if you haven't uploaded your documents, then it can put that process in hold.
Yes.
And so that's my next question is, have you uploaded your documents? So that's actually step 2 and 3 in one.
That's right.
All right, so step 4 is you get a pre-qual letter once. Well, tell me a little bit more about the pre-qual.
Well, the pre-qual process, basically after our initial consultation and the application and pull the credit, we have a good idea, where you stand. But in order to go ahead and give you a full pre-approval, after you upload those documents, I review those documents. If everything matches what you told me verbally, I put it through an automated underwriting system. That system reviews everything, and based on the information, it will give us a disposition of approve eligible. That's what we're looking for. I'm not going to go into the other ones because we want the approve eligible. But once I have that, I can issue a full pre-approval, which means that I have reviewed credit, I've reviewed income documents, I've reviewed assets. You have everything that you need at this point in the process to go ahead and make an offer on a home. And Dana can speak more of how important that letter is.
So pre-qual letter is important to both you and agents, because when we start shopping, some sellers will not even allow us to go into the home without showing that we have a pre-qual letter, okay? And then 2, if you love the home and you want to put in an offer, there's no holdup. Because we can't put in an offer without a pre-qualification letter. And the reason is sellers won't take it serious.
Right.
Maybe a for sale by owner would. But a professional agent won't even, they'll be like, here's an offer, but we won't even consider it without a pre-qual. So that's why it's so important. Go ahead and get it in advance. How long are pre-quals good for?
They are good for about 120 days. The credit report's good for 120 days. So the pre-qual letter's good. We just have to review income and assets if there's any changes within that 120 days. Otherwise, I don't ask for additional documents till I actually get a contract. Then I'll get updated documents. But if everything is status quo from the time it's issued, it's good for 120 days.
Great. Which leads us to the 6th step, which is lock in the mortgage rate. Tell us a little bit about why.
Yep. So when I get that contract, that's the point where we can lock the interest rate in. I cannot lock loans in without property addresses. Therefore, you have to have the home picked out and have that contract. As soon as I get that, I call you and say, hey, congratulations, you have a contract. Let's take a look at interest rates and where they are today.
Do you ever recommend waiting a little bit?
I do sometimes.
Okay.
Do.
So depending on the today's market in interest rates, he may give you some advice. Do you want to lock it in that day? Do you maybe want to wait a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe gamble a little bit?
Yeah, it's on new construction, generally if the home's in the process of being built, we have to wait till we're about 30 days out to lock the loan. 45 days, because the longer the lock period, the higher the interest rate. And so, we generally wait till we're within 30, 45 days of closing to lock the rate. Now, I always say, based on the market today, this is where you stand. Maybe if we wait a little bit, it might go down, but the flip side to that is they may go up. Nobody has a crystal ball. I always end this conversation with, it's your money. Do you like to gamble? How would you like to proceed? Because we can wait all the way up to 10 days before closing to lock the loan.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
When we got our property, we did gamble a little bit. And it did pay off, but we can't promise it's always going to pay off.
Yeah, right. it sometimes it pays off well, and sometimes it's not so
doesn't.
good. Yeah.
It's not his fault. He's just the delivery man.
Yep. I'm just the information.
So the 7th step is the loan is submitted to what we call underwriting. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Okay, so once we have your loan locked and we have all the documentation up to this point, I take the file and I submit it to an underwriter. And an underwriter is there to review all the documentation and make sure that it meets the guidelines. Once that process is completed, that underwriter will issue what's called a conditional approval. That conditional approval generally has some minor conditions on it. A condition is just that it's an item needed in order to satisfy a question the underwriter had.
Could be like an example.
An example is, please explain this address at ABC, street, because it didn't show up on credit report, but it's showing up on fraud card.
Okay.
That's another system we use. So you just have to write a letter of explanation saying, oh, that was my mother's address. It's very simple things. Sometimes they want to know, certain deposits on the bank statements, things like that. And then some of the conditions are just waiting for appraisal, title work, survey, typical things that we have to wait for that are ordered after the loan is submitted. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's what I would say is conditions are very normal.
absolutely.
And ever since 2008, it seems like conditions have just risen, just on my perception.
Yeah.
Maybe they were always like that. But I've had clients who are like, it used to be so easy, and now they're like, oh my gosh, I have to jump through so many hoops. Just know it's normal.
It is.
Even if you have wonderful credit, wonderful work history, it's very normal to have conditions.
And if you previously purchased a home and it's been a while and you didn't have to supply all these conditions or this documentation, it's okay. Things have changed.
Yeah.
It's nothing personal against you. It is just the way the market
Have you
is.
had people get upset because you
I
requested?
have.
It's really the underwriter. It's not you. The underwriter's requested. I have too, which is why I like to set expectations that it's normal, because I've had people with like perfect credit, great income, great work history, and they're like, what?
I've had people say, I could buy this home for cash. I don't need you. Why are you asking me for this?
Yes,
and I'm like, I am not asking you for this. The
underwriter
underwriter's asking for this, and the U.S. government is requiring the underwriter to ask for this nowadays. So if
it's just part of the process at the end of the day.
It is.
So yes, there are some hoops that you may have to jump through that if you purchased a home a long time ago and you haven't since, you're probably going to have some hoops to jump through.
Yes.
Just to forewarn you.
But it is normal.
It is normal. All right, so step 10 is the loan comes out of underwriting. We get a final approval, right?
Final approval.
And that's when we can schedule your closing date.
And basically, once the loan comes out, I just call you and I call the agents and I ask everybody, including title, what is the convenient day that you would like to close and fund this loan? Congratulations. We're at the goal line. You're about to own your home. It's that simple. There's a few things that go on behind the scenes, balancing some numbers. After that's done, I'll basically let you know how much your final amount for the wire cashier's check is going to be.
Yeah. All right, so some people wonder why we can't schedule closing, the day we go under contract. And the reason is, even though we have a tentative date in the contract, and that's the goal for closing, until it comes out of final underwriting, we get a final approval and all of that, we wait to schedule closing because it's just penciled in. It can be moved at any moment, right?
It can always be moved, and there's so many different facets of the process and so many things involved. You have the property, you have the income, assets, borrowers, sellers. Things change throughout those 30 days. Information changes, and as that changes, that may push back or push up the closing date.
Yeah.
Because something may pop up that has to be cleared up, and it may take 2 weeks to clear it up.
You never know. Weird things come up.
It comes up more than you think.
Yes. So that's why we maybe sometimes we'll pencil in a date about a week before closing, maybe 2 weeks, but typically we like to wait until we get a clear to close is what we call it.
Yeah. Ultimately, our goal is from the time you sign a contract to the time you sign your final documents is 30 days or less. That's our goal. That's what we shoot for every time. Again, when things come up, that fluctuates.
Yeah, I would say that he's really fast at getting homes through underwriting very quickly, but on a rare occasion, something weird happens.
It happens.
All right, so step 12 is, okay, you've signed off on all the documents. You're at closing, you signed it off, your hand is hurting, and what happens at that point?
At that point, the title company will gather up a few legal documents, and they take those legal documents and they scan and email them usually over to the lender's closing department, just to make sure that the signatures are exactly as the way they were prepared on the documents. That's important when you sign your closing documents. Sign them exactly as your name appears on the documents, or it will delay the funding process.
On what documents?
The
Original loan application?
No, the original closing documents when you're in front of the notary, they need to sign their name exactly as it's drawn.
What do you mean drawn?
John A. Smith.
Got it.
Don't
Okay.
sign John Smith.
Okay, let's re-say that because I know what that is, but I didn't know what that was. Okay, so when you're signing documents, you need to sign
exactly as it appears under that line, or they will make you re-sign them.
Yeah. Usually the title company will instruct you to
I don't know
sign.
If
so
about.
Dana Pollard, if that's how it is, Dana
Right.
Pollard, that's how I need to sign all the documents. And then you're saying the lender on your end,
they review that.
They review that and make sure
Right.
it matches.
They review and make sure everything matches, and if there was any minor conditions at closing, that those are clear.
Got
I
it.
don't really want to bring up closing conditions because we
Oh, okay, yeah. So basically, just because you sign documents doesn't mean it's officially closed yet. You can't have the keys yet until the title company, so you've signed the documents, the title company takes that, scans it to the lender, they review it, make sure signatures are correct, and once they give the thumbs up, we call it a
funding.
Yeah, and that's when it's officially your home. So it's
Yes.
closing and funding. Once we get the call, so you'll sign your paperwork, you'll leave, and the title company or lender will call you and say, congratulations, your home has been funded, which means it's official.
It's official. You own a home.
And that's the 13th step. You own a home.
Congratulations.
My goodness. Okay, let me just say this real quick. If you did not understand all of that, it's okay. Jeff will walk you through the whole entire process. You don't even have to know the 13 steps. All you have to know is before you spend any money, call him. And if you have a question, we will guide you all the way through. If you have a question, call us, call your agent,
Absolutely.
call Jeff. We'll walk you through the process so you don't have to feel so overwhelmed, okay? So if you are thinking about buying a home, fill out the Dream Home Questionnaire in the link below. If you want to go ahead and have a conversation with Jeff to see if, talk about your situation, can you get a mortgage? What about if you're moving jobs? All these lending questions, feel free to give Jeff a call. His number's in the description below as well. And if you're ready, fill out an application. That link is in there as well. And put your questions and comments in the comment section below as well, and we'd be happy to answer your questions.
Absolutely.